So today we are off on one of our infamous food walks, and today is all about the Doughnut, which I am a huge fan of, and I had to think about who was going to be my guest to join me on this wonderful experience, and there was only one person that I could rope in for this, and that is my brother Sam Young, DJ Sam Young, aka Vanilla Ace, aka World's Best DJ, aka Doughnut Lover Extraordinaire, and he is sitting behind me right now as we drive into town to kickstart our journey at one of the best donut places in London town. St John is renowned as one of the best British restaurants in London. With Fergus Henderson at the helm, it specialises in old school cuisine with a new school mix. Their bakeries, dotted around London, do not fail. Simple, to the point pastries and delicacies, but we're here to try their infamous doughnuts. At each contender's spot, we are having a simple sugar dusted and jam filled creation and one other wild card choice. I dig into the raspberry jam donut first. And my thoughts? It's like really fresh jam, very light, sugary. I can't talk.
Is it too sweet?
No, it's incredible. The dough is really light and fluffy, not too heavy. The thing that surprised me the most is that the actual jam is really tasty. It's not really sort of like, just a cheap jam. It tastes expensive. Sam started with their chocolate cream offering.
Okay, here goes. Chocolate donut.
And his verdict?
Wow. I've never been a big fan of chocolate donuts. So it's really nice, creamy filling, like not too heavy, kind of like more like a mousse.
Time to swap over. It's not overly rich, which is good because the chocolate would be really overpowering. It is a bit like a mousse. Like it feels like the chocolate has been really whipped up. This place St John is definitely living up to its name. So the standards are always going to be high, and the expectations are going to even be higher. I would normally go for like a chocolate-filled donut like this. I'm always a bit more. I want like Nutella or something cheap like that. But this is really tasty. Like I could easily eat this and not feel heavy and grossed out afterwards. Damn, I can't believe this is the first stop off. Standards are so high now, as is the strength of my immediate sugar high. The staff at St John were incredibly knowledgeable about their produce and how their pastries were made. They even allowed us to sample another infamous flavour, the salted caramel. Equally as delicious, but nowhere near as good as the jam one. Now time to write up our scores. So we just left St John, and I knew I was going to enjoy their donuts. I knew they were going to be really good quality, but I didn't realise how incredible the donuts were. The presentation was lovely. They were just really simple, filled donuts with about 4 or 5 different flavours. I thought that the value for money was actually very good, considering St John, which is where the bakery comes from, is actually quite an expensive restaurant in London. The dough consistency for me was the biggest winner. It was light, it was fluffy, it wasn't heavy. It was, every mouthful just felt like I could definitely finish this donut and maybe one more. The fillings felt luxurious. The raspberry jam actually tasted of raspberries rather than just sugar, and sort of like really like gel consistency you get from quite cheap donuts. And the chocolate filling was like velvet. It had been whipped so much that it kind of got to the point of a mousse. And it didn't overbear on the dough, and it was really interesting talking to the guys behind the till, because they were saying that they kind of do a 50-50 on their ratio, which I think is really important. So I've given some really high scores for St John, but we have a serious contender on our hands.
I was really impressed. I thought the donuts were delicious. I'm gonna make it easy. I gave them 10 everywhere. Overall flavour 10. So yeah, big first score for St John. Well done. I recommend it.
Now we're off to our second stop. the world's worst storm won't stop us in our quest for London's best sugary snack. And so we find ourselves at the epitome of Candyland, sugar rainbows and flying fluffy unicorns. Doughnut time. Originally from Australia, their doughnuts are self-described as big, bold, wacky and have the craziest selection of flavours. We opt for a rogue choice of cinnamon biscoff and our base contender, the jam-filled, sugar-dusted doughnut. Here we go! It's like as heavy as a dumbbell. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Whoa. Whoa. Okay, that is indulgent as fuck. Hello, can I get one of the pink ones at the top? Do you want one? Okay. You haven't got one of the pink ones? I think the faces show the verdict. The rogue Biscoff choice was mind-blowing at first, but ended up being sickly sweet, and the jam-filled one was very under par. Even Sam's reaction was obvious. Okay, so I've had to do my review in the car because if you can't hear me, that's also not my fault because behind me and outside is Storm Ciara causing havoc. So yes, this was meant to be a donut walk, but it's kind of become a bit of a donut drive, but that's fine. So we've just left Doughnut time, which was honestly, in a word, disappointing. The value for money, first of all, was atrocious. Paying up to nearly £5 for a donut honestly should be illegal. The dough consistency was heavy. It felt, the donuts were so big that we actually left donuts in their boxes, which I think is a testament to the entire experience. The dough to filling ratio was overwhelming. There was too much filling. It was going everywhere. It was, honestly, in a word, a little bit grotesque. The sweetness level was absurd. I honestly feel like I have got diabetes in the past half an hour and I am incredibly concerned about that. So, unfortunately, Doughnut Time have scored 10 points less than the previous people at St. John. On to the next one.
Value for money, I gave them a 5 because, yeah, a bit too expensive for what it is. You know, you've got these, massive donuts that are kind of like, as Hannah said, a bit grotesque and over the top. The jam one was nowhere near as good as the St. John's. It tasted like, I'll be honest with you, even like Sainsbury's jam donuts taste better than the Doughnut Time one. The actual total was 54. Sorry guys.
To our next stop off, Bread Ahead. Now this place is interesting. We discovered that Bread Ahead was founded by one of the ex-pastry chefs of St. John. Go figure, as the selection on offer bears a similar resemblance and the donuts are practically the same look, fillings and size. But we're here for business, not politics. We choose the jam-filled and the chocolate-filled. The Queen has rightfully found her place in life. Let the eating commence. Cheers.
Cheers.
Absolutely delicious. Again, falling really in line with St. John rather than Doughnut Time. It's your traditional donut. It's your traditional fillings. If you can just see here, again, really delicious homemade jam.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very similar to St. John.
Interestingly though, the chocolate on this donut is a similar consistency to St. John, but it's actually much more of a richer chocolate, and I think I preferred the chocolate at St. John because it wasn't as overpowering and you really got to enjoy their dough, which I think was the standout part of the donut for me at St. John.
Much better donuts this time than Doughnut Time. As Hannah mentioned, the jam was a bit more like natural, kind of like organic kind of tasting. Dough consistency, I gave them a worthy 8 because better than Doughnut Time, not as good as St. John. but still tasty and not too doughy, and just just right. They're kind of small, and like as you can see, they're really nice. Overall flavour, I gave them an 8. So my total for bread ahead is a 63, baby.
Presentation I gave a 7, just because they were nicely presented in a very sort of uniform fashion. Value for money I gave a 6, which is kind of midway. They were actually more expensive than the St. John, which was really interesting because they look exactly like the St. John. And what I realised is that you've kind of got to decide whether you like a traditional old school style donut, which is a big sort of round piece of dough filled with whatever filling and then covered in sugar, or whether you like the new style donuts, which would be things like Doughnut Time, that are sort of candy coloured, very American, very sort of super sweet, sugary. Ingredients are very fresh. I know that it didn't feel very mass produced, which is what I felt Doughnut Time was a bit. It was just all a bit sort of conveyor belt, let's just get this stuff out. Total score 53. I'm 3 donuts in. I'm starting to feel nauseous. I have 2 more to go. I don't have much left to give.
Too much sugar!
He's on a sugar high. I'm on a sugar low. Peace out. Our 4th location finds us in Marylebone at Crosstown Doughnuts. They're known for their sourdough donuts, resulting in a very different donut experience, as well as new and exciting flavours such as bacon and banana and lime and coconut. I must also add, this is actually their only vegan outlet and Sam has no idea. Let's see how this unfolds.
See on the other side.
See you on the other side, baby.
I can't even get my mouth around this.
That's what she said.
I mean, don't look, Sam. This is inappropriate.
We've opted for the closest we can get to our base flavour, peanut butter and blackcurrant compote, and a vegan maple bacon and banana flavour as our wild card offering.
Mmm. Mmm. Mmm.
There's nothing.
Mmm.
No.
To be honest with you, I am pleasantly surprised by Crosstown. I have eaten their donuts before and I haven't really enjoyed them, just because their dough is very different to any of the other donuts out there. So they use a sourdough base, and actually Sam, I'm about to steal his line, but the consistency and feel kind of reminds you of a really soft bagel. So it's more bread-like than like dough, if that makes any sense. And I sort of see Crosstown as a bit of a hybrid between the original sort of donuts that are filled and then covered in sugar, and sort of like your new style, crazy flavours, crazy colours and toppings. So I actually have rated Crosstown pretty consistently high with all 7s and 8s. So at the moment they're coming in at 2nd place, but we have 1 place left.
Yeah, so we just left the Crosstown Donuts place in Oxford Street. This was the vegan shop where all the ingredients is vegan, obviously. The actual ingredients of the stuff is amazing, and the general texture is almost like a soft bagel, which I said to Hannah. It was really good. I'm really surprised. I wasn't really crazy about the flavours to begin with, but then once I tried them, they're really good. Definitely recommend it.
And we're finally on the home stretch. It's been an emotional day. We're off to Portobello Road to visit Happy Doughnuts, a kiosk in the heart of the market that sells every kind of flavour, vegan options, and even a great coffee. I love that you can watch the owner making the donuts as you order. Oh God, Sam's still on his sugar high. We again order our base flavour as well as a Nutella praline goddess. I'm suffering, but I gotta finish the job.
Let's just do it all in. Nutella for the win. Nutella for the win. Nutella for the win.
Swap.
Save that bit for me.
Yeah.
Enough is enough. The weather has gotten the better of us. Time for the final scores behind closed doors because I'm laden with sugar, I'm damp and exhausted, and I have my diabetes test booked in for tomorrow.
DJ Doughnut.
Well, probably you can do
Guaranteed.
something with marshmallow.
Yeah, DJ Doughnut.
So we have come to the end of our donut walk. We are going to do our final scores of the last venue we went to, which was Happy Donuts. For me, it was pretty consistent, but it was not the best. The dough consistency actually for me was a lot different than the other donuts. It was so airy that as soon as you held it and bit into it, it all kind of caved in on itself, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it just didn't keep its shape, if you know what I mean. The flavour options were pretty good. The sweetness, I actually thought it was a little bit too sweet. And something else that I noticed, that they were very, very greasy. Sam?
Yeah, no, Happy Donuts. I thought the presentation's good. It's a nice small stall. Value for money is decent. Super sweet. Like really does hit you. That they're not like fresh jam, like St. John and like say bread ahead, but like some crazy flavors there with the Ferrero Rocher. You got the cronuts and you got every donut imaginable there. But yeah, no, I like them.
So now we are going to look at our overall scores and find out who is the winner of the best donut in London. So to kickstart off, in 5th place, may come as no surprise, and it was Doughnut Time with 49 points out of a potential 80. And my 4th place was Bread Ahead with 53 points out of a potential 80. What did you get for your 5th and 4th places, Sam?
Pretty much the same as you. I was a bit more generous with the scores. For Doughnut Time, they came in last at 54 points, and then Bread Ahead on 63. Not saying Bread Ahead was bad, just wasn't good as the others.
Okay, so top 3. In 3rd place was Happy Donuts. They were delicious, and I'll still go back there, but when placed against the other donuts that we had today, they just were a little greasy, which is really sad. So they came out at 54 points out of 80.
Yes, Happy Donuts for me was I gave them a generous 65.
And in 2nd place, and they missed out on for me on a joint 1st place by 1 point, was Crosstown Donuts. What I loved about them actually was the difference in dough. Like, it was a different experience. It was the sourdough base. Although these were vegan, I do know that their non-vegan ones have a similar consistency. I really enjoyed them.
Yeah. No, same for me. Crosstown come in 2nd. I gave them a generous 69.
So that leaves us with a very clear winner, which is St. John. We started with them. They were going to be a very difficult donut to beat, I think, from the get-go, you'd agree. If you really want that delicious, traditional donut with a really fresh, not too sweet filling and a little bit of dashing of sugar, that's your place to go. For me, because I have been very stingy with my points, I gave them a 60 out of 80, which for me is still very high. You, on the other hand, were just throwing points out like we're going out of fashion.
Yes.
Okay.
So I gave St. John a big 80, 10s all over. So I'm hoping to get donuts for life. It's the only reason I'm here.
We'll speak to Fergus Henderson about that. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you on our next food walk.
Bye.